We are going to talk about something which is very, very close to my heart and very, very important. It's inspired by an article which was written by Dr. V. Mohan, Chairman and Chief of Diabetology. Dr. Mohan Diabetes and Specialist Center. He will be joining me from Chennai, and Dr. Shikha Sharma, a very well-known nutritionist, he will also be joining me. So this entire thing was inspired by the fact that the connection of sugar with the liver, and why both liver and diabetes should be treated together, and why we fail to make the connection. And in India is the diabetes capital of the world. Highest number of diabetes cases are taking place in India. Why should liver and sugar be connected? What does it do to our body? Without wasting any more time, let me straight away go to the people who understand this. Let me go to Dr. V. Mohan. Sir, I really enjoyed the article you wrote. And I'm also joined by Dr. Shikha Sharma. Thank you, ma'am, for being with me. Why should diabetes and your liver be investigated together, be studied together, be treated together, sir?
Thank you, Karthikeya. So there's a very interesting thing which is developing more rapidly nowadays. We used to think that diabetes affects the heart, the kidney, the liver, the feet, and so on, and the eyes. But we never used to think of the liver connection. Actually, it's a bi-directional relationship, which means that if you have uncontrolled diabetes, that can lead to fatty liver. And fatty liver, if you have, it can lead to diabetes. Why is that? Because when you have fat in the liver, the insulin is supposed to work in the liver. So when you have too much of fat, the liver cells cannot work properly. Insulin resistance comes, and that leads to diabetes. It's like a vicious circle. So when you have uncontrolled diabetes, there's too much of glucose in the blood. That gets converted into triglycerides, which is a fat, and that again gets deposited in the liver. So the liver and diabetes have a huge connection. In fact, if you look at the prevalence of what we call as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, nowadays it's called as MASLD, metabolic some associated steatotic liver disease. Now that is much more common in people with diabetes. So the point is that if you have diabetes, you should look for liver also when you make your assessment of the diabetes. Not enough if you just look at the sugar or the cholesterol. You should include the liver also in your checkup.
You're right, sir. People have awareness that the diabetes has direct correlation with kidney dysfunction. It has a direct correlation with
heart and eye
wounds not getting healed properly at the time. People talk about it who are not experts, but no one had any idea till I read that article that you should also be careful about your liver, because people thought कि liver का तो अलग system है. अगर liver का problem होगा तो आप liver doctor के पास जाएंगे, भूख नहीं लगेगा, you know jaundice जैसे symptoms होंगे, so you compartmentalize it. You never think. It's like when I was 15 years ago, for the first time I realized, sir, my colleague had a high BP thing, and suddenly I realized the doctor told him his both kidneys have failed. And then I realized that high BP and kidneys are connected. It's the same kind of feeling I had when I read this article, ki liver and diabetes. So what are the symptoms? People also get, then what are the symptoms? How should people do it? I have known people who were suffering from acidic reflux, and later they found out that they had fatty liver, and they were being treated for acid reflux.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that you have to do is when you go for a diabetes checkup, also include an ultrasound that will easily pick up fatty liver. Today, we have also a very simple test called as fibroscan. It takes only 2-3 minutes. We just put a probe there, and it will just, through ultrasound waves, it will tell you not only whether there is fat in the liver, which ultrasound will also tell, but it will also tell you whether there is fibrosis. Now, fat itself is bad enough in the liver. But in the next stage, what happens is that fatty liver will lead to inflammation. That will lead to fibrosis. Fibrosis means the early shrinkage. And we know that where that will go. That will lead to cirrhosis of the liver in the late stages. And some of those patients with cirrhosis can also end in cancer of the liver, hepatocellular carcinoma. So it's a kind of a different stages. First fatty liver, then inflammation, then fibrosis, then ending in cirrhosis, and that leading to cancer of the liver. And diabetes is one of the things which fuels all of these. So not only you can die of liver related symptoms, but because diabetes is also part of it, it makes it worse. So in any diabetes checkup, include the liver. And if any liver problem is there, also think of diabetes. And then there are also, why is it important? Because there are medicines in the past which were very good for diabetes, but they'll increase your weight. For example, insulin. Insulin is a very good thing for diabetes. But if you take insulin continuously in large doses, your weight will keep going up. Similarly, there are other drugs called sulfonylurea, pioglitazone. These are all drugs which will increase the fat and the weight. Whereas today, we have drugs like the SGLT2 drugs, the GLP-1, you would have heard of semaglutide and tirzepatide. These are drugs that have become very famous now because they not only help to control the diabetes, they also drastically reduce your weight. And if you have fatty liver, the fatty liver completely disappears. So in one stone, no, we say two birds with one stone. You can have three birds with one stone here. The diabetes control, the obesity control, fatty liver also control, and they are very very effective drugs which have come. That is why you must know the relationship between the liver and diabetes.
Okay, so in terms of diet, Dr. Shikhar Sharma, what is the Ramban?
Yes. See, let's understand this whole diabetes with a little holistic view. When I say holistic view, which means that we talk about insulin when we are talking about diabetes, but there is another hormone called glucagon, which is actually, if you look at insulin, this is the brake and glucagon is the accelerator. Suppose you're driving a car, you need both brakes and accelerator. Now, in diabetes later stages, your accelerator is pushing hard and the brake is failing. So insulin is failing and the glucagon is going up, which is accelerator. So it is completely spiraling out of control. Your blood glucose is spiraling out of control. When, if you understand it in a very basic term, there are two, three things happening here. The first thing is that your entire digestive and metabolic system is having a communication failure. So micro communication failure is happening across from the digestive system, from your gut to the liver to your entire metabolic pathways. When this communication fails, the body starts fighting itself, which is inflammation. The body's control systems, the brake and the accelerator start failing. That means your car is spiraling out of control. And third thing is fat deposition is the outcome. Inflammation is the outcome of this entire failure. Now, when we come to the Ramban, as you correctly said, three, four things you have to understand. The first thing is diabetes control starts at your intestine level. If your gut is not healthy, your liver will not be healthy, your bloodstream will not be healthy, your hormones will not be balanced, and this all will start. So, gut health is very important. Second thing is the liver has to be healthy. How will the liver be healthy? If I'm continuously pouring chemicals into my liver, pouring pesticides into my liver, pouring junk food into my liver, it can never be healthy. So, which means that you have to start eating vegetable juices. Like in traditional naturopathy and Ayurveda, what do they really do? They give you lots of organic fruits, lots of vegetable juices, whether it's petha juice or whether it is an amla juice or whether it is any one of those vegetable juices. What is the reason? Cleansing the liver. Enemas are given by detoxifying the intestine, detoxifying the cleansing the intestine.
Doctor, I really don't want to create a controversy because I had interviewed someone who specializes in liver and hepatology, and he said that detox can pose a big threat to your livers. This detox industry. Should people be careful about this detox? पता लगा detox के चक्कर में liver खराब हो गया.
You asked me.
Sorry,
okay.
That was the question to you, and then yes, please.
Okay. So I think what he was asking was that the liver itself is a great detoxifier. Do we need to detoxify the detoxifier? So that is a question which is asking. But I think what Dr. Shikhar Sharma said makes sense. If you avoid the junk foods and if you take lot of, see, you must eat as close to nature as possible, as nature made it. So fruits, vegetables, don't overcook them also, and don't keep on adding all kinds of things to it. If you eat there, automatically the liver gets detoxified with the good food that you're taking. Also, carbohydrate is one of our big culprits. We take too much of rice and we take too much of wheat. We take very little protein, very little fiber. When you have too much of carbohydrate, it gets converted into triglyceride. Triglyceride is nothing but fat. And that is what goes into the liver and stops there. And that only produces the fatty liver. So I think what Dr. Shekhar Sharma was saying was that eat close to nature, cut down on carbohydrate, take lot of plant proteins and fiber. That way your liver will remain healthy.
But Dr. Shikhar Sharma, there's another issue. We excel in making healthy foods unhealthy. For example, there are ways of eating your roti, so that the gluten levels can come down. In traditional societies, roti घर में रख देते थे, सुबह इस्तेमाल करते थे, so the gluten would go down, so that the minerals would get unlocked. Traditional way of eating food. But if you look at our food pattern, it's carbohydrate on carbohydrate on carbohydrate, and that too refined carbohydrate.
Very well said. And let me define now carbohydrate for everyone. If you really see, one is natural carbohydrate, which is found in plants, which is found in fruits, which is found in vegetables, which is found even in dal. So this is natural carbohydrate. Natural carbohydrate never, it's not like a freewheeling carbohydrate. It's locked in fiber. It is, so the release is very, very slow. So it's not an avalanche of carbohydrate hitting your body. Because it's locked in fiber and vitamins, the release is very, very slow, number one. Number two, why is sugar causing such a huge problem? Because sugar is hyper refined carbohydrate. It hits you like an avalanche. Number two, most of the sugar is also bleached sugar. That white colored sugar which you're seeing is a lot of bleaching and chemicals which are entering your system. Another thing which is very important is that when we talk about even wheat, the traditional wheat was not so sweet. Over years of changing the genetic structure of the wheat. Now this is very, very meetha wheat, sharbati and whatnot. I mean, it's becoming like a sugary wheat. So just to sell more wheat, the wheat which had less glycemic index, now slowly they are increasing the glycemic index of both wheat and rice. So the problem is that the entire market force is not towards health, but more towards making it more sweet, more sugary, putting more fertilizers, more chemicals, genetic modifications. And that's what has landed us. Like a lot of people say, we were eating wheat from generations. What's happened now? The the genetics has changed of the wheat. The pesticides have increased. The agricultural practices have completely changed. These are the three factors which are really badly affecting the quality of the wheat protein, which is the gliadin.
Okay. My last question, because I'm running short of time. Dr. Mohan, do you think that the fasting works? Upvas work karta hai, or like the people would say that, having one food a day, like I've seen, I'll give you an example of my own grandmother. One day she would avoid salt, another day she would avoid sugar, third day she would avoid vegetable, fourth day she would avoid, and fifth day she would avoid food, and she did it for 40 years. She passed away at the age of 95, but she did it for 40 years. One ingredient went absent.
Yeah. Fasting is actually very good. There is no doubt about it. It's one of the best detoxifiers if you fast. Intermittent fasting has caught on, as you know, restricted time eating only between certain time and certain time, not eating late at night, because then that all gets accumulated as fat in the liver. They're all very good. But it must also be accompanied with calorie restriction. There is no point in eating 2 meals only. I don't eat lunch, but I eat very heavy dinner and very heavy lunch. It defeats the purpose. The idea behind intermittent fasting that you'll ultimately reduce your calories. So if you reduce your calories and then spread it, or even fast one day, or eat less, have only fluids one day, fruits one day, whichever way, there are hundreds of ways of fasting. But in general, what you're doing when you're fasting is you're cutting down the calorie consumption. If you're able to do that, and as already discussed, eat the right food at the right time, because chronobiology is also important. If you eat after 9:30, 10 at night and so on, it's just too late. See, the Westerners eat at 6 o'clock, and even the Jains eat before sunset. So therefore, I think eating earlier, if you're not able to do it at 6, 6:30, at least by 7, 7:30, before 8 at least you should eat. If you do that, then you will automatically get your the fasting built in, because then the next meal will be at 7 or 8. You've got it 12 hours already built in. That's very healthy for the liver and very good for diabetes as well.
I think that's very well said. But I would say that the real problem is, as Dr. Shikhar Sharma was saying, it's the food industry, the queues that they are building up. That food is available everywhere. You can have it every time, whenever you want it, however you want it. It's the
How
overload of
much
the
ever you want also.
sensoriness, overload of the sensoriness, fat, salt, protein, everything together, which is not part of the traditional diets across the world. I thank both of you for joining us and educating our viewers on the perils of diabetes and how diabetes can affect liver and why should they be very careful and what should they be asking their doctors. I thank both of you for joining me, and to my viewers,
Thank you, Kapish.
watch this program again, at least this specific part. If someone has sugar, get your liver tested.